Hello and welcome to the newest video. It's just me today. Scheduling conflicts. I've had a lot of updates recently. So today we're going to be going into Hemwick Charnel Lane. There's a couple things I want to do before I do that. I want to collect enough twin bloodstone shards to get my weapon to +6, and there are 4 to the right of the cathedral ward. I was debating on whether to show this at the end of last episode, but it just felt like that one was a bit long and wasn't quite confident with the editing yet, so I decided against that. Here I'm going to be getting out my poison knives just to show an easy way to take care of NPCs like this by taking advantage of their spacing. I'll be cheesing both of these guys. This is the effective run, not the strategy run. But so we've got 2 hunters down here. One using a tonitrus, which is a weapon we'll get in a later episode, and the other with a rifle spear. And by far the biggest threat is the one with the rifle spear. I'm going to be taking advantage of the fact that this guy mains a shield and his tonitrus, and I'm just going to poison him to death. Now, as I said, I want to apologize. It has been a while since I've uploaded. Unfortunately, I am in a position where I am in a flux of employment. I could lose my job any moment, and I nearly lost my job on Friday, and I've also lost my uncle. So it's going to take a total of 6 knives to get this guy down. As you can see, he has an obscene amount of health, and he can 2-shot me, I'm pretty sure. So I just stay out of his range, poison him, and let the poison do the work as he backs out. Did want to speed that up because it's much longer than it took. So there's about 300% footage there. Here, what you're going to do is you're just going to fall down. You're going to notice where he is, and then just go for the cheeky backstab and run away. And just rinse and repeat. You can run away from him, and he resets, and he does not heal. He's got infinite bullets, a lot of health, and his overall pain. You can poison him as well, but it's not as safe as this strategy. But yeah, as I said, unfortunately, I've lost my great uncle. He serviced in the role of grandfather for me. I never knew my father's grandfather, and or my father's father. Sorry, he died when my father was either 14 or 15, much before I was born. And so my uncle served in that role, and I went to his funeral today. And so I have a little bit more free time in the midst of the pandemic. I do have to take some time off of work to get to make sure I don't have the condition, the plague, if you will. I think I'm okay. We were very careful, socially distant. I wore a mask and a face shield personally, and I tried to maintain distance from people while sanitizing my hands immensely. But I don't plan on doing things in social gathering sense very often. So here, we've already got him to below half health. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and finish him off. I try to go for the free blood bullets. Like I end up just abandoning this strategy for free blood bullets. It's just not practical. You can't get all of your health back. You're better off just wailing away at whatever you're trying to kill, if you're trying to go for the free blood bullets with rally. Excuse me. Just had a little bit of Diet Coke right there.
Bless us with blood. Bless us with blood.
And with these 2 houses, we have the contrast with the houses we saw in the previous episode, where they were relatively sarcastic about their praise in the whole goddamn church. Here we have, what's the word? People who are actually devoted. And coming down here, not easy. A lot of the first time people come here is when they, after you have beaten Amelia, the very first, doesn't matter which house you speak with, but the very first house you talk to is going to be Patches. There's some free bloodstone shards rather than twins. There are 4 twin bloodstone shards down here, which will be enough to get our weapon to a +4 state. Now, I do die, but you actually don't want to go down that route. It's a good idea to come up here and fall down the side, because there's a couple of gunmen, and they are inaccessible unless you come at them from this direction. And I actually do mess up my fall. And there's our first free twin blood. Well, no, not our first free twin blood. I would say, I think it's our second. I'm not sure. I'll have to look back at it. I think I either have 2 or 3 now. It's been a while since I actually played it. So go ahead and take care of the one gunman, and then the next gunman's not going to notice. Relatively easy to get in there. But yeah. So I miss it, and I have to run around. But yeah, I do apologize for the late upload. So I've combined the next 2 episodes into 1 episode. I am going to be doing Hemwick Charnel Lane today. Unfortunately, that footage did get corrupted, so I had to re-record it. And you don't get to see me pick up the items. I am going to put in the video description links to where all of the twin bloodstone shards are in Hemwick Charnel Lane. And it's just an idea of how bad the curse is here. So the fact, a charnel house is where it's like a morgue. They process bodies, they drain them in preparation for final rest. And so things are so bad in Yharnam right now that they have an entire neighborhood dedicated to the act of charneling. And here I die. These guys are no joke. They will kill you. And you might likely die a lot trying to do this. It's very much a possibility. I gotta change my power settings. My computer's trying to go to sleep in the middle of me recording. I'm gonna speed up the footage here, and I am gonna show off that you can in fact summon. Unfortunately, this didn't work out. I was wanting Henriette to come all the way with me to the to help me kill those executioners, but she does not. So we'll just speed up the footage. I'm doing more and more experimenting with my editing, and so this is the new technique I've decided to use in this particular episode, is speeding up footage for runbacks. I think it'll be very useful, because there are some areas in the playthrough that I do die repeatedly. I have combat-wise, I seem to be doing pretty well in this playthrough, and I would say I knocked the rust off relatively quickly, and for the majority of the playthrough I didn't really struggle combat-wise, minus one boss, that being Lawrence. But platforming-wise, no. I did quite bad. Now, Henriette's not going to follow you if you come down this way, but like I said, you need to take care of these gunmen. Otherwise, you don't really have access to them. We don't really have access to good ranged equipment other than the poison throwing knives, and I don't really want to waste them on those gunmen. So I'm going to try to run up here and get her, and unfortunately I just can't get her to follow me all the way down. So I end up 1v1ing. I heard that noise there, and I was very concerned that she had left, but I didn't see the Henriette had left noise. And as I've stated, I'm very proud. I have, in fact, recorded the entire Let's Play, and you know, so at this point I kind of know where I have struggled and have not. Unfortunately, Dylan, you know, not being able to join me, but this could be a blessing in disguise. As I stated, I'm somewhat in a job where I'm in between jobs. I really don't see myself doing this new job I'm doing for you know, the next year or two. Quite frankly, as soon as I get vaccinated for COVID-19, I'm probably going to get back into substitute teaching, because while the pay is not as good as what I'm currently doing, I probably would enjoy it a lot more. But I think this will serve as good practice for me to talk and describe things so I can get better with interviewing. I recently had an interview with a company for a job I very much suited for, leading a customer support team. And I just had the preliminary interview where they asked me questions about my resume, and I unfortunately just totally messed up on the easiest of questions. So hopefully this will help me get better at speaking, in a sense where I'm having to improvise and not looking at someone. I think I'm very good at speaking when I'm in fact talking to someone in front of me. But if I'm just trying to convey a message in an interview sense where I have less practice, hotfully me doing this will help me get better at talking. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the silencing blank in my hotbar. This is the hotbar is where I like to put the items I want to have quick access to but not common access to. So it's just convenient to put them there. I always put them there. Doesn't really make sense this playthrough, because that's pretty much the only time I'll be doing any summoning. And here I finally get it. It's too dark. I can't see. So I'm playing with the brightness, and I'm actually talking to Dylan at this exact moment in the LP, trying to figure out how well he can see through the Discord stream. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. I do need to apologize. This video, there is unfortunately a moment of technical difficulty. Actually, a couple moments. Luckily, one my system recovered from, and so there's just a really small hitch of me missing a few steps walking forward. But overall, the recording crashed, and I had to recover the footage by just running through it. So you are going to miss me, in fact, getting the +5 weapon, and you are going to miss some leveling I did. Here I'm resetting the game to get the Wandering Madnesses to respawn. Each of them have 2 twin bloods, so it's very worth coming this way if you want to have a stronger weapon earlier on. If you want, there's another way you could go about this, is you could come here after you've gone through Hemwick Charnel Lane, and then you have a +5 weapon before coming this way, and this would be the final bit you would need to give yourself the +6. But I kind of like it's so short, there's not really much to it. I kind of like clearing it out. Now, what I was staring at the end there in that room, there is an invisible amygdala being, you know, the if we saw a previous episode where we had the vortex going through where I picked up the top hat and Hunter's outfit without the shoulder cape, you would see the blue blub. There's a similar effect there, and it just kills you unless you have the right item for it. This was going to be the end of the episode, but I just felt like it didn't really match the tone.
Let the echoes become your strength.
So I think I've stated earlier, my plan for these stats is to get them all to 20. So stamina, health, or vitality, endurance, strength, and skill. I want to get them all to 20. You can prioritize this in any order you want. I end up electing to go all the way with skill first because skill as we've stated previously, scales with your visceral attack. And I'm going to be trying to make visceral attacks be very common for this character's arsenal, a very pivotal part of it. And it makes some boss fights that people find very difficult pretty trivial, I think. And I'm still quite strong enough in other areas where I don't have to depend on the visceral attack to get through this. And unfortunately, we're about to experience those technical difficulties. And here we are. I chose a fun image there. And so at this point in the video, I had already cleared Hemwick Charnel Lane, which is why I have enough XP there for 3 levels. And I have a +5 weapon. Like I said, I apologize. I unfortunately missed, or the footage just got corrupted. So I decided, instead of just fully replaying up to this point, it was only one area. So I'm just going to run through it again, and I'll just be missing the item pickups. And in the item description, I'm going to try to link screenshots for where the twin bloodstone shards are, because that's what's important in this video. Is we want to have a +6 weapon before we encounter the Witches of Hemwick. And that's what I've decided the next boss is going to be, because they are what stand in between me and the Rune Workshop tool. Really, you can fight. We're relatively strong at this point, especially at the end of this video, but we can go fight any of the bosses here. We can go fight Amelia and pretty much overwhelm her. We can fight blood-starved beasts and be very strong. Like, we're already incredibly strong for that area. And the Witches of Hemwick, I decided were the next boss I wanted to do, because, like I said, this is the noob-friendly run, and all of that. So when I did the initial run-through this section of wood where all the gunmen are and the dogs, I had initially actually gone through and killed all of them. But I thought better against that after having to do this run back. I thought it might be more noob-friendly to make this suggestion. Just sprint through. These doors will be closed here, and you'll have an immunity while you open them. And then hit the lantern, and then go back into there. That way your run back is a lot shorter, and you don't have to just go all the way through the enemies through Cathedral Ward. So I thought this was probably the best strategy for getting through there. There's a lot of useful items in this woods. One being, if you're doing a more gun-centric build, I believe this is the first place you encounter the buff that allows you to boost your gun damage. I need to look up what that is, because I suddenly can't remember. Beast Blood Pellet. Nope, that's not it. Beast Blood Pellet is what I made this whole playthrough. Bloodborne gun buff. Consumable. Consumables. Bone marrow ash. Sorry. So, after you can get bone marrow ash from the vendors, after we get the Radiant Sword Hunter badge, which we will do immediately after we fight the Blood-Starved Beast. You do have to fight the Blood-Starved Beast if you want the Radiant Sword Hunter badge and Ludwig's Holy Blade. So if you're wanting to use Ludwig's Holy Blade, you're probably going to want to have already fought, just go through the normal progression and fight the Blood-Starved Beast before coming here. Because you need to kill him in order to have access to the room that has the Radiant Sword Hunter badge. Here, there's a few ways you can go about this entire combat. there's probably a much safer way. You could run back off here, because this is a really difficult one with the 4 men, and then save quit, and then just run behind them and do it again and again and again. I try to get a little creative, but it does actually, in fact, get me shot by the one behind there. But they can very quickly do a lot of damage to you. So there's nothing wrong with taking this slow. And I try to finish him off with Pebble there. It's just getting me in trouble. But it is very easy to die here, which is why I recommend just running through to the other lanterns so you can immediately get back into this fray if you want to loot this area. It's not entirely all that necessary. Like I said, I might be corrected when I look it up on the wiki and paste the screenshots of the twin bloodstone shards. There's some bone marrow ash though, like I was referring to. And yeah, and this is actually probably the hardest area. Now there is, if you're seeing more enemies than me that come out of the ground and are all spooky, and they kind of look like a dark Pokemon if Bloodborne had Pokemon, that means your insight is really high. And that's fine. They are... I need to look up what those are, but I'll look them up after the fact. But they spawn based on your insight level. If your insight is high enough, additional enemies will be in this area, and it does make it somewhat harder. They're very aggressive when they get near you, and kind of hard to battle and parry. They also will appear in the boss fight if you have any insight at all. And for the sake of this LP, I actually go out of my way to show off what that fight is like without insight. I don't normally go through the effort, and I did miss some twinbloods here, and I got pretty excited when I saw these because I knew I hadn't gotten the Wandering Madness at the end of this level yet, but I knew that was like that was the... I was worried I was only going to be able to get to +5 without doing farming. And it was at this point, though, when I found that, I knew I was going to have a +6 weapon, so I was actually pretty excited. Here's going to be the first hint. If you haven't noticed, there's no items, but I've already gone through this area, and that the shortcut is already unlocked.
You hear the graveyard murmurs? Then it's almost time. Oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
So for me, the shortcut is already down. For you, there will just be death, a big death hole there. If you have seen any signs or messages from people informing you that there's treasure ahead, they're lying. There is no treasure. Don't go down the hole. You will die. And I want to go back into my thoughts here about whether you're appropriate level for an area or not. I think if you can R1, L1 and kill most enemies, you're in good shape. There's this skip I was talking about. I apologize. I ended up actually changing recording techniques after this to help mitigate with crashes. So if I did have a crash, I could quit the game and not lose my footage, because I lost all of the footage after the technical difficulty sign there, and had to rerun through the area. So after this, I attempt using just, instead of the Elgato recording software, I try out OBS's recording software, which I didn't know was capable of recording directly. And I've also recently discovered, since I've started using DaVinci Resolve to do these video editings, that DaVinci Resolve has a function with my capture card where it's leading me to believe I can in fact capture within DaVinci Resolve itself. There's an item here. I believe it's just some more Molotovs. I could be wrong though. But DaVinci Resolve has the option for me to record directly into it. So I may, just for fun, give that a try. I do have some more free time this week with having to wait to get a negative COVID-19 test before I can return to work. So I'm probably going to try to pump out a few more videos because I have more time, or at least I'm going to edit ahead of time in anticipation of being able to do multiple videos potentially with Dylan. Here's the shortcut again. I'm trying to show off where it would be. So for you would see the carriage that we saw down below right here, and you'd be able to go down. I was actually hoping also to show off that one of the crows there is your friend. However, that didn't quite work out. I killed them all. I was too effective. Be careful for this one. Her first move is going to be to try to shove you. And if you're coming around that corner slowly, like a lot of new players will, because they want to be slow and scan the area, she'll be there in time to set up a trap to push you off. And there's another trap coming up that I just don't understand how it springs. So I've killed him and I've killed her, and I'm not really sure where she comes from. But when we go through the door there is going to be another lady that comes up behind us. So here I'm turning around trying to get her to spawn or be somewhere, and I'm just not really sure where she comes from. We do have a dog in the front. I can hear her behind us now. And there she is. I was testing out the torch there. If you're doing the crazy difficult thing, which would definitely be in my opinion, Bloodborne on hard mode, an arcane build, which I'm currently, well, currently is not a strong word. I am technically in the middle of an arcane run. I'm stuck at Ludwig, trying to get what I want. But if you're doing the crazy thing that is an arcane build, which, like I said, in my opinion, it would be the hardest difficulty for this game. The Hunter's Torch, or, well, I guess this is the normal torch, does more damage as you level into Arcane. Elemental damage scales with the Arcane stat, along with item discovery, so if you've got all your stats to their relative hard caps, it's not a bad idea to just straight up invest in Arcane after that. So that way you're farming, if you're farming for items, it becomes more efficient. And you can also use the eye rune to make that more efficient as well. There's another one of those pushing traps that we just encountered. I went slow around the corner with. So we're approaching the end of the roundabout path for Hemwick. There are a lot of traps. I'm just realizing there are a lot of traps. And by traps, like around the corner type traps in this level. But we're about to encounter 2 more of them. And then there's an additional one with one of our favorite types of enemies we were playing with earlier, the executioners. But if we look on the left over here, there's going to in fact be another one, and it's not the dog. So I'm just having quite the time with. But there's just another person over here. I hadn't realized. I might have to actually count that in my head. There are just 3, and what I would consider late Hemwick right here. I can think of 3 of them. Or no, 4. 4, because we had the one by the building over there, the one right here, and we have another one just inside this building. You know, you think at this point, you think, okay, they're done doing that trick. And they set it up to lull you here, or make you more cautious. I'm not sure. But she definitely cut my eyeballs out the first time I did this level. I was just like, that's got to be the last one. And so here we have our probably our toughest enemy at this point in the game, these executioners. Their parry windows are just so tight. Skip fighting him, run straight, just open the shortcut. You know, you don't want to mess with it. It's tough business. These guys are really strong. Their parry windows are really tight, and their the amount of time you have to do a visceral attack to them is quite short as well. So like a lot of enemies, you can trade, get up in time, and get that in. And you can technically do that with the Executioner. We did that earlier in this episode, but I just don't get it here. I do not. They're very tough. So if you have trouble fighting them, know that I have almost 500 hours maybe in Bloodborne, maybe more. I might have 1,000, and I still struggle with these guys. They are really, really tough enemies. And now that I've taken care of both of them, though, a lot of people's inclination would be to go up the hill and continue. However, there is some important loot out here. And there is a lot of dogs. So the caution here would be drawing them all at once. You want to try to draw one at a time, and that is hard. Most of the time you're going to draw two, or in my case, just draw all four of them. I'm not sure if there is a way to limit your encounter here. But if you can, I really strongly recommend trying. If you feel overwhelmed by dogs, though, remember, you can shoot them, and they will be flung back. The old lady that is up there throwing the Molotov cocktails will often have fallen down here. And that makes the encounter more challenging, so I find I have to rush her to kill her before she falls down. And so here are the last two enemies in the path for the item that I'm going to be highlighting here. I believe it is the Lake Rune. And I think the Lake Rune boosts your HP. I'm not sure. But this is planned here. We've got a dog and I just handle that bad. As soon as that dog started running forward, I should have backed off. Because her range is very similar to the player's, actually. And it's going to feel really weird and awkward. I've never actually fallen off of this corner, but I assume it's very possible. Just go real slow. You do have to get off of that little brick I'm on. What little brick? That large brick, I guess. The cement block. That I'm on there to be able to grab it. This pillar over to the left here is important. It does stick out when you're looking at it from the shortcut in. It is where when you get you'll get if you follow my playthrough, you'll get an item that is for an invitation summons. Oh, here's another corner trap. Someone hiding behind a corner. This one's less obvious, but it's a trap no matter how you take it. So if you come down here and you get him, the ladies can jump down and surprise you. And if you decide to fight the ladies first, he'll just turn around and come get you. Usually in the middle of your fight. So I do recommend going through the trap in this manner. We're approaching the end. So up here is probably the most important thing of the video at this point. So if you've gotten all of the Twin Bloodstone shards up to this point, you're one or two short, and breaking one of these crates will cause this Wandering Madness to fall out of the ceiling. And here are the final ones you need for +6. So at this point, we have enough for +6. I've got 10 there. I believe you need, I think it's 8. It's either 8 or 9. Can't remember off the top of my head. I believe it's 8. And you can run into the boss fight. I'm not going to fight the boss in this episode, but I am going to trigger it, unlike I have in previous episodes. And there's one of those crazy guys. Now, in that boss fight, they're not really actually all much of a problem. So if you don't want to spend the insight and you want to save it for later, by all means, go ahead. But I recommend... well, no, I don't really recommend anything here. It's one of the easiest boss fights in the game. So if you're struggling, I would say, if you're, for whatever reason, you find the Witches of Hemwick Charnel Lane to be difficult, go spend your insight. You won't be able to level until you beat them, but as soon as you beat them, you'll gain an insight. Or, well, you'll be able to level if you pop an insight as well. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. When you tune in next time, I believe we'll be fighting the Witches of Hemwick.
Welcome home, good hunter.
And you have a wonderful day.
What is it you desire? Very well. Let me stand. Farewell, good hunter. May